If you can't communicate, somebody says, it's like winking at a girl in the dark. If they just learn to communicate better, they increase their value at least 50%.
One of the key skills to high quality relationships is your ability to have great conversations. I'm not talking about just intimate relationships. I'm talking about all kinds of relationships, friends, parents, kids, colleagues, etc. So in this video, I'll dive into 4 principles of great conversations. This is one of the most important videos I'll probably make, and here's why. And I quote Jim Knight, who wrote the book Better Conversations. Much of our joy and sorrow is the direct result of our personal relationships, and our relationships thrive or die depending on how well we communicate. When we listen with empathy, find common bounds, and build emotional connections, we find that our lives at home, at work, and in the community are better. Taking time to improve our conversations is probably one of the best ways we can spend our time, because so much of our success and happiness hinges on how well we communicate, and because far too frequently we are frustrated or saddened by how our conversations fail. So now that we know why the stakes are so high for great conversations, the first principle is to actively listen. Typically, we listen to correct, criticize, defend, or to fix. I want to share a little story. One of my first classes in my master's program was leadership development. In that class, we were taught to actively listen. My program was in organizational psychology, and at the time, being taught how to actively listen seemed trivial and unnecessary. Years later, I can tell you, in my work as a management consultant with large organizations, active listening is the number one skill I use to understand what is really going on and then be able to come up with solutions. So, how do you actively listen? First and foremost, we have to train ourselves to listen to understand rather than listen to respond. Most of our conversations will instantly become richer if we can be fully present and not be eager to jump in with our own thoughts and perspectives. This will make you understand the emotion and the more accurate meaning behind what the person is conveying to you. In order to start practicing active listening, next time you're out for coffee with a friend, consider letting them talk 80% of the time and you talk 20% of the time. Notice how the conversation unfolds, and let me know in the comments how this experiment goes for you. Moving on to the second principle, which is to ask powerful questions. Now, you may be wondering what makes a question powerful. What's the difference between a powerful question and a regular question? It really comes down to the level of your curiosity about what the other person is sharing. Great conversations happen when we're able to ask curious questions that make the other person think, make them feel that you want to learn more about them. Avoid the following, and you're already going to be on your way to asking powerful questions. Questions that are close-ended or yes or no questions. Questions that are judgmental, questions that are leading in nature. For instance, don't you think that it would be a good idea if blah, blah, blah. So when you begin to ask powerful questions, you elevate the conversation from a boring one to a conversation that leaves you both feeling deeply engaged in. Next, the third principle of great conversations is to become comfortable with silence. Unless you're professionally trained as a counselor or as a coach, this is a principle that most people will find hard. Silence can be extremely awkward. So this can take practice, but once you become comfortable with letting there be silence, you'll often find that the other person has something deeper to share after the silence. This is because silence gives people space to process their thoughts and elaborate as they wish. And the last principle of great conversations is to have an orientation of learning. Having a mindset that you're going to learn something from this person helps you to be far more open about what you are hearing, even if your views are drastically different. Part of having great conversations is to disagree in a healthy manner, especially with those who see the world very differently than you. You can do this by adopting intellectual humility. This just means your willingness to step into another person's worldview and question your own. If you model humility in disagreement, the other person is more likely to consider what you have to say. This will help you build common ground. As always, turning a principle into a habit and embodied behavior takes practice. So next time you find yourself in a disagreement, why don't you ask the person a powerful question, or practice active listening and see how that disagreement might turn into an effective way to collaborate. So to summarize, here are the 4 principles to great conversations: active listening, asking powerful questions, becoming comfortable with silence, and having an orientation of learning. I hope you got value out of this video. If you did, please hit the like button. It goes a long way in supporting my channel, and I will see you next time.